Hi friends, today we will discuss on one of the finest poems of John Keats, Ode on a Grecian Urn. The Ode on a Grecian Urn was composed in the spring of 1819 and was published in 1820. The Greek verse which inspired the poet John Keats was not the figment of his imagination, but has a real existence. The inspiration of the poem might have been derived from the verse. Now let's discuss on the summary of the poem Ode on a Grecian Urn. The poet is deeply moved by observing some artistic engravings on an old Grecian urn that has been lying silently on the lap of time. The vase represents the Greek pastoral life and it is the fine perpetual works of art. The poet is eager to know whether the figures engraved on the urn are of gods or human beings or both. The poet observes on one side of the urn that some maidens are hotly chased by some mad lovers. On another side, the poet finds a number of people playing on pipes. The music that is listened to by the spirit is sweeter than the music heard by physical ears. The youth represented on the urn is playing on the pipe will always go on playing under the tree which will never shed their leaves. And the lover who is hotly chasing the girl will never succeed in catching or kissing her. But he needs not feel the love's sad satiety, because he will never cease to love her. Whoever these persons and whatever these sins may be, art has given them an immortality. The poet speaks of another picture engraved on another side of the urn. It is the picture of a sacrificial procession depicted on the urn. There is a crowd of people. A priest is leading a heifer decorated with garlands and silken dress to the sacrificial altar. The town from which the people might have come, situated by a river or on the seashore or on a mountain. The town must have been empty at the time and it must ever remain empty. The marble urn, a genuine relic of Greek art with sculptured figures of men, women, trees, weeds, etc. It seduces us from the ordinary life of thought into the extraordinary life of imagination. It will continue to exist, avoiding the cruel ravages of time, even when the present generation will die out, and in the midst of sufferings, it will teach us the lesson that beauty and truth are identical. This is the supreme lesson which a man ought to learn for the sake of his happiness. And when the lesson is learnt, he has no need to learn further. Let's discuss on some important features of the poem Ode on a Grecian Urn. The Ode on a Grecian Urn is one of the greatest odes of Keats and shows his poetic genius. It represents the Aristotle's concept of a poem having a beginning, middle, and an end. The Ode on a Grecian Urn is a representative poem of John Keats. It illustrates all the essential features of Keats' poetry: his Hellenism, his concept of beauty, his sensuousness, his meditativeness. Keats was essentially inspired by Greek art and culture. The Ode on a Grecian Urn reveals his Hellenism most fully. The subject is an urn, a relic of ancient Greek sculpture. Next, Keats' sensuousness is in evidence in the description of the sculpture scenes. The maidens, trying to escape the hotly chase of young lovers, the melodies playing on pipe under the trees full of green leaves, all these feed our senses with sweet pleasure. Now, the Ode on the Grecian Urn reveals Keats' concept of beauty. Keats observes that beauty and truth are identical. Truth cannot exist without beauty, nor beauty can exist without truth. As art is permanent, containing beauty, so there is truth in it. This is what the urn will teach the generation after generation.